glad.
June 19th. I remember the date this week for the first time. I don't know what Juneteenth is.
I don't know what that is.
Can anybody educate me on what Juneteenth is?
Not sure.
I just know that it was like 2 years after the after the end of slavery, but it was really
So it's a
when it was
slavery.
more.
Cool.
Got it.
We should really probably know more about
So
that.
they're trying to push it to make it a holiday, right?
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, that'd be great, right?
I would.
All right, Johnny Walker, Mike Marlowe, our weekly, we still gotta figure out a name for this thing.
Yeah, I know we haven't
Our
yet.
weekly BS section, or whatever we wanna call it. Well, we have two incredible guests this week, well, I've known Austin for, how long you been with My Home
It's been a
Group?
while, probably 60, going on 6 years.
So 6 years,
Yeah,
and
give or
Melissa,
take.
I've known you for a couple years, hanging out up here.
About a year and a half, yeah.
So Austin Zaback has an incredible story, and we're gonna get to that. And Melissa's got like a high-producing new agent, so we're gonna talk to them a little bit about what they're doing and how things work. So a couple of real quick housekeeping things. Last week's lunch for 4 was not claimed, so we're gonna roll that back over this week. So there's gonna be a question at the end of something that we're gonna discuss today, and if you get that question right, then you get the lunch for 4, donated by Shelly from OneGuard. Shelly Carr, one of our power partners and one of my partners in crime. She's awesome. She does a great job. So, and then the other thing is questions. If you have any questions, please send them over on the Facebook page.
Yeah, we love
Go on
questions,
home
so
page.
anything at all, just fire away
I love it.
for any of us. So,
Yep.
and today is really, we're excited because today is a lot about inspiration, motivation, so we're looking forward to hearing from you both, and hopefully any agents out there that are feeling a little stuck, they're gonna feel really motivated and inspired today, so.
Cool. I love it. It'll be very fun.
All right. Any other housekeeping stuff? Can we roll into this thing?
We're giving away swag today, or what are we doing?
I just said the swag was lunch for 4.
Oh, okay.
Turn that thing up. Would you?
I should, I need to, but I thought, never mind.
So I gotta tell you a funny story. When I was in cable, our sales manager had hearing aids, and he was also like the funnest guy you could ever hang out with. He was great. He hung out with all of us. He was a little older than us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, God, how old? I was 22 maybe, and we're in. Maybe I shouldn't tell this story. Anyway, we're in a sales meeting, and he's telling us all this stuff, and I raised my hand, and I was the top salesman, so I could get away with murder. And I go, hey, Glenn, when? And he goes, what? And he starts adjusting his
That's funny.
and all the guys in the room are like, oh, Walker, you're a jerk. And again, he goes, what did you say? I said, when can we? And he's going like, finally he looks at me, he goes, I can't tell you what he answers.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here. It was really fun. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
So, and I'm close to that too, so now the payback's going to be.
For sure.
All right, so, Austin, I want you to tell everybody kind of your story, because your story it floored me when I first heard it. And then once I got to know you, it made total sense.
Yeah.
Because man, you're a guy that, man,
I appreciate
it's
that,
like
brother.
let's go
Yeah.
get it so tell us a little bit about where you're from, how you got to Arizona, if you're already from out of town, and tell us your story.
Sure. Well, I'll try to make it really short. I first of all, I appreciate you guys having us on the deal here today.
Thanks for
So
being here,
it'll be a lot of fun. But I'm 25, just turned 25 years old now. So turned 25 in May.
I love that you lumped me in this category with a 25-year-old. I'll take it.
I grew up with my I moved out of my parents when I was about 7 years old.
Here in Phoenix?
Here in Phoenix, yes. I was born and raised in Mesa, raised in Gilbert. So moved out of my parents at 7, moved into my grandparents. Parents just didn't want kids. They didn't. I mean, they just weren't ready for kids or whatever. Looking back on it, who really knows? But moved into my grandparents' garage, and I could have moved into the house. I kind of liked the garage more.
Yeah, tell me about the garage.
Yeah. We set it all up. My grandpa helped me. Like, we built it wasn't like he just threw me. It's hot in Arizona, right? So like I put a little air conditioner in the wall, and
At 7.
At 7, yeah, 7.
7.
Yeah. We were. I was quite the little. I was kind of like the handy. My grandpa's pretty handy, so. We just built it was a 3-car garage, so mine was just a single car part of it. So we built, so they still have their 2-car deal, and I have the single car part, and that's where I lived. That's where my bed was. I raised up the floor a little bit, and put carpet down and threw an air conditioner in the wall, put some like shower curtains in front of the garage door so you couldn't really tell there was a garage there, and that's where I lived. And then my grandpa owned a pool company at the time, and so he taught me how
Like
to
a pool cleaning
company, yeah, and maintenance. They were in like repairs and stuff like that
Right.
for swimming pools there, obviously to Arizona, right? And so he's like, look, I'm going to show you how to do this, and that way you can make your own money and stuff like that. Because he was a business owner, but he wasn't like wealthy, right? He was just a very very like I would say like lower to middle income, on a good day. And so he taught me how to do pools, and by the time I was 8 years old, I had my own accounts. I built, yeah.
So you started your own business
Mhm.
at 8 years old.
I did, yeah. Yeah, he showed me how to.
Second grade.
For about a year, I went with him, and he showed me how to do all the chemicals and test all, everything all the way from stabilizer to pH to total
And
alkalinity.
you picked it all up.
Yeah, I picked it all up, and I was always kind of ahead of my age mentally. Physically, I was 7 or 8 or whatever, but mentally, I was 12 or 13 probably. For whatever reason, I was just always, hung out with old. I just always kind of had that entrepreneurial, mindset, even when I was a little kid.
But still, at 7,
Yeah,
that's beyond.
It is.
I can see 12, 13, I got a paper route or
Yeah.
something. But at 7,
Yeah.
second grade.
I've
Yeah.
got a 9-year-old. I can't get him to pick up his clothes off the
Yeah,
floor.
yeah. Different times back then a little bit, as you know, right? I'm 25 now, so, pre-social media, pre-all that, right? My first phone when I was 7 or 8 years old, I think I got it was like a Nokia 5300. It's like
Did you
just
say
like
your
a-
first phone at 7 or 8?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I had to talk to my client. I had clients and stuff. They had to call me.
First phone at
Yeah.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
real. This is
Yeah.
absolutely true. This
Yeah.
is not like
Yeah.
you're in a twilight zone and you're like, come on.
For sure.
Keep going,
I had a bank account, the whole 9, I got with Wells. Matter of fact, I wish I had brought my wallet in, but it says still on, I kept my initial, account open, and it says like customer sent on the Wells Fargo card,
Right.
So I think it's like 2002 or something like
Wow.
that. But anyways, I still have that, and so, yeah, and then, basically from there, I did that for about 5 or 6 or probably 7. Yeah, I did that all the way till I was about 15. So by the time I was 12, I was...
So you're ready to retire by then.
Yeah, right now, not quite. But I made good money for being a little kid. I probably made 20 or 30 grand a year. By the time I was 12.
20 or 30 grand a year.
Yeah.
At 7.
Yeah, no, by the time I was 12, probably. So I had to work my way up. By the time I was probably 12, I was making 20 or 30 grand a year, and then it was, a lot of it was cash, right? So it was,
Right.
I wasn't like, So hopefully the IRS isn't listening, but so I blew all my money because I lived with my grandparents, and they didn't. It was a little bit untraditional, right? Grandparents have already kind of raised kids; they've already kind of done that whole thing, so they're the most amazing people on the planet. But I didn't, I was never taught like, hey, you got to invest your money in a Roth IRA or invest in the stock market or buy real estate. I just I would make money and I'd spend it as fast as I made it. You know what I mean?
What would you spend it on?
Everything you can imagine.
Candy?
No. Like I was
baseball cards?
No. I was into I was an outdoor kid, so I RC, like helicopters, airplanes,
Oh,
the nitro, like the cars that run on like nitro,
Right.
go like 80 miles an hour. They're like 3 or 4 grand for like one. I'd get a new one like every week. I did paintball, airsoft,
Wow.
go karts, go peds, quads, dirt bikes. Well, 'cause I had to pull my pool trailer with a quad because I couldn't drive, obviously. And I serviced all the accounts in my neighborhood.
With a quad.
With a quad, yeah. So I welded it.
It's actually kind of cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. Me and my
Wait,
grandpa.
this gets better.
So yeah, we welded a hitch on the quad, and I got a little trailer from Harbor Freight, and that was
Okay,
good
so
then.
now you're 15?
15, yep.
15, you're making 30 grand a year.
Yep.
You're a freshman in high school or
I'm
in
bad.
high
I'm
school?
bad with timelines like
So
that.
let me ask you this: what about school? You finished school, right?
I did.
You
I
go
got
through school.
through high school. Yep. Mhm.
Okay, and what about your parents at this point? Were they kind of checked out of your life, or?
It was in and out. It was every now and then, like I wanted to be. I felt like when I was growing up, I kind of wanted to be like that normal kid. Like I always felt like I wasn't normal.
Too late, bro.
Yeah, but that was back then, right? So but in the time, I was like, I wanted my parents to be together, and they were obviously divorced. So I was like, I'd always kind of want that kind of like normal
Sure.
life because my friends always seemed to have that, and I didn't really have that, So, so my dad lived in Queen Creek at the time. My mom lived in, I think at the time she lived in like Chandler or something, and now my mom lives in Goodyear. My dad lives in Lake Havasu City. I don't really talk to them much. I'm really close to my grandparents, but yeah. So that was
Makes sense, yeah.
yeah, that was kind of that. But so it was they were in and I would like talk to them every now and then, but it wasn't like you know.
Sure.
I would go, like, every now and then we go to, like, Rocky Point. My dad had a condo in Rocky Point, so he would, like, you know, take us down there and try to make it like a normal thing, but it wasn't really ever a normal thing, you know.
And what did your dad do for a living?
He did, like, RVs and, like, boats and stuff, so he wholesaled. He worked for like Robert Chris and Company RV as, like, the sales manager down there.
Oh, okay.
He made really good money, actually. But yeah, he just never really wanted. He was like, he just worked all the time, 7 days a week, you know. So yeah.
So tell us, you're 15, driving a quad, doing all stuff. What was next?
Mhm.
What came
Yeah.
after that?
Well, if you do the math, when I was about 14, 15, the market, that was a crash. So everybody decided they could clean their own pool because they didn't need that expense. You know what I mean? So I actually just got out of the pool business altogether about 14. It was probably like 14 and a half. And I got my first, like, traditional job at a dry cleaners. So
okay.
yeah, I got a job at a dry cleaners, and I hated it. I hated being told what to do and when to do it, and, like, when to show up and
I
stuff
worked
like
at a
that.
dry cleaner.
Yeah, and it was higher than heck too.
Steam
Oh my
everywhere,
gosh,
yeah.
they had like a swamp cooler in there, you know, so it wasn't like actual air conditioning.
Right.
And man, I hated it. But I was there for probably 3 months, and then I really just went from job to job to job from probably like 15 to like 18. I probably had like 15 or 16 jobs over the course of, and I worked everywhere. You know, I worked at, you know, Buffalo Wild Wings, Texas Roadhouse. I worked at, like, Rigid Industries, like on the assembly line. I did road construction. I worked for Sears Home Services. I did, like, air conditioning. I was always really good. I never got fired. I've never been fired from a job. I typically would go in. I would kind of dominate it, even if it was Buffalo Wild Wings. I was very competitive, so I wanted to be the fastest, you know, line cook at Buffalo, right? And I would achieve that goal. I would become the fastest line cook, you know, fastest, and they would put me, like, in the, you know, because it's all, like, in restaurants like that, it's all, like, on the line. You're on the line.
Yeah.
So you have, like, one particular, maybe you're doing wings, you know, you're dropping all the wings in the fryers and stuff. So like a UFC fight night, I think we dropped like 52,000 wings in the fryer, and I did it all by myself, you know. So I was like, but so I would just quit. Like every 90 days, I'd get tired of it, I'd quit, I'd move on to the next job, you know, because I didn't enjoy it.
So really, it was just more get bored of it.
Yeah.
You needed something.
I needed money. I needed to make money, you know, because of the kind of that, like, lifestyle, I guess you could say I was used to. I was used to just kind of like, and on top of that, it wasn't like people were just handing me money, really. I mean, my dad never gave me money, my mom never gave me money, you know, my grandparents didn't really have a lot of money, so it was like,
Right.
you know, if I wanted a car, I had to buy the car. If I wanted, you know, the stuff, I had to buy the stuff, you know, and I obviously wanted stuff. I wanted,
Right.
you know what I mean? So yeah, I worked really hard, and then I got into, like, network marketing at a pretty young age, so like MLM, like multi-level marketing, at probably like 16 or
Like
17 years old.
what?
But at the time it was Vima, so I got into Vima, if you guys are
That
familiar.
was a phone thing?
No, it was vitamins, essential minerals.
Vitamins.
Yeah, mangosteen and aloe vera. It was like Verve, like the official, at the time it was the official energy drink of the Phoenix Suns. And so I got into that and did really well, you know, built like a really big organization.
They were headquartered in Scottsdale.
Yeah, it was
I
like
know
Tempe, I
that
think.
worked there, yeah.
Yeah, Tempe, right there on, like, by Tempe Town Lake.
Right, right.
And so I networked, like, a ton in that industry. Matter of fact, I attribute a lot of my mental success to that industry because, you know, at the time I was hanging out, you know, every month there was a new seminar, a new thing that we were going to. And so, you know, and I knew all the, like, the highest level people in the company. So, you know, I was always backstage with Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Gary Vaynerchuk, Eric Thomas, you know, all these cool, Bob Proctor, Linda Proctor. Linda Proctor was a part of the company, you know. So I was always surrounded by really cool people. And so that's kind of where my personal development, you know, things started to kind of kick in, where I realized, okay, you know, it has a lot to do with your mind.
How does that not rub off on you?
Yeah.
You know, being around that.
Yeah.
I had some
Dude, I've heard this
powerful
story
minds
before,
right there. So.
and every time I hear it, I'm just floored.
Yeah.
I'm just floored.
amazing.
I appreciate that. No, yeah, and so that's what I did, and then I did pretty well there. I got a Mercedes Benz at like 16, paid for by the company because I was doing good, really good. You know, it was already like I already had multiple cars obviously before that I had paid for, but they paid for that with the Mercedes, and then you know, all my friends at the time were driving Rolls Royces, Lamborghinis. I mean, I was hanging out with people that were making $300-400 grand a month. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And they're 23, 24, 25 years old, so they're, you know, 5 or 6 or 8, 7, 8 years older than me, you know, making 3, 4, 5 million a year. We're flying on private jets. We're going to beach houses in, you know, Carlsbad, California, hanging out with, you know, the CEO of the company and stuff like that. And so really it taught me the mindset. The mindset is really what I got. Because, you know, at that point I'd really understood that I wanted to work for myself. I got that from like the pool company, right? So I understood time freedom, but I never understood the amount of money in the world. I didn't understand the abundance factor of it, right? Because I saw my grandpa had time freedom, but he didn't have an abundance of money. He just had the time freedom. So he had part of the equation, right? The other part of the equation was, how do I get time freedom and an abundance of money? Because the abundance of money is what is going to allow me to contribute. It's going to allow me to actually take my life to the next level and you know, change and do things.
So let me know first, just say, so at a certain point, you matured, even though you were obviously way mature for your age,
Sure.
and started not spending money on the cars and RC cars and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that, and started saving and started looking a little bit more
Yeah.
towards the future.
I probably blew all my money till I was probably like 18. You know, I probably blew $1 million by the time I was 18. You know, I would say, give or take.
Not many kids that age can say that.
Yeah, and
$1 million by the time they were 18.
yeah, and I'm not proud of that. But I did. You know, what I will say is I learned a lot. I think that through all the failures, you know, you learn. You don't learn when you're not like. Basically, I feel like in humanity in general, like people don't learn. You learn when you're in the trial of the tribulation, right? So like, you know, people want the testimony without going through the test, and it's like you can't. That doesn't work like that. So, you know, in order to get to the point where I was able to be financially mature and financially illiterate, you know, I had to be financially illiterate and understand, you know, to do all of that, because a lot of people do that when they're in their mid-20s, mid-30s, or even like, you know, midlife crisis type thing. And I learned a lot of the same lessons when I was a little kid. So by the time I was probably 19, I had started to understand, okay, I need to start actually packing some money away here, and I need to find a vehicle that will allow me to do that, and that was real estate.
So you're, before we jump into the
Yeah.
real estate thing,
Yeah.
because that's where we really want to start discussing. So at this point, and I'm just going to go by my life and normal people's life, because this is obviously
Yeah.
abnormal. Was there a certain point where you stopped taking advice, or have you continued to take advice? Did you get cocky? Did you go through a period of, man, I'm 18, I did all this, why should I listen to you? Or talk a little bit about how that's worked for you, whether it's positive or negative.
For sure, yeah.
Because everything's a learning experience.
Yeah, everything's a learning experience. I mean, I think there's been multiple times in my life where I had a little bit of an ego and I was a little bit arrogant. But I always, like, in my heart was like, I felt like I was humble in those times, because I knew, because I've studied so many like phenomenal people throughout my life, you know, and listened to every podcast, read every book, you know. So like, I knew that you have to be humble to be truly successful, because, you know, humility is what's gonna carry you and be able to maintain success. But I definitely think, you know, that is kind of a double-edged sword, because, you know, I mean, there's been times in my life where I've done some pretty cool stuff, and in those moments, you know, you can develop a bit of an ego. And every time I got the ego, shortly after I had the downfall. So it was like I would be on the peak of the mountain, and then I would get the ego. And it wasn't like bad. Like the average person probably wouldn't even realize that. I think it's more about the heart and where the heart's at. I don't know that, like,
It's your own.
Yeah, it's your own thing, right? Like it's
right.
this own deal, you know, that I had, and I had to like really look at myself in the mirror a few times in my life and say, wait a minute, like, I'm nobody, right? Like, and I need to understand that, you know, you always, like, basically I always got to be learning and growing and evolving. There's never going to be a day where you're the part of the journey is the fact that your whole life's a journey, right? Every time you hit the goal, there will just be another goal. So it's like, you know, I had to finally wrap my brain around, like, there's actually no end point. You know, the end point is just the next point. It's that next goal, but the moment I get there, there's going to be another goal. Mm-hmm. And I think I learned that through, like, placing my happiness in the future. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are pretty bad with that. You know, like, I talk to a lot of people where they're never happy, and it's a problem, because the problem is, it's when I make $100,000, I'll be happy. You know, when I make $200,000, I'll be happy. When I make $1 million, I'll be happy. When I have a white picket fence and a family, and my kids go to a private school, and I can drive a Lexus, and my husband can drive a Porsche, you know, then I'll be happy. And the problem is, the moment you achieve that goal, there's automatically another goal. There's somebody else that's making more money than you. Your neighbor's making more money. They have a nicer car, a fancier boat, they have whatever, and you're not going to be happy. And so if you place your happiness in that future, then what happens is you're not happy in the present, so you're always waiting for the future moment. But the problem is the future never comes, because the moment you hit the future, you're back in the present, and there's a new future. So then you're never actually happy. You get on this hamster wheel of being unhappy, dissatisfied, depressed, anxious, you know, and these are things that I still battle, obviously, till this day. I mean, I'm not perfect.
So would you say, though, I mean, you mentioned the heart a couple times, and I think that's kind of where it starts, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really truly be happy with anything until you're truly happy with you yourself, right?
Sure.
I mean, you really have
Self-love,
to,
yeah.
Yeah, that's where I think that humility comes in.
Yeah.
And,
See, but what I see with Austin is yeah, you gotta love yourself, but you beat yourself up too.
Yeah.
I mean, like you know, I think everybody does. If you're having a bad stretch, you're like, what am I doing wrong? When really maybe you're not doing anything wrong.
Sure.
It's just you know, a product of the environment right now.
Sure.
The difference is the people that keep fighting. You know, you get knocked down, you get back up. You get knocked down, you get back up. I think you're like a perfect example of the psychology of sales or business.
Mm-hmm.
Is that yeah, the ups are up and the downs are downs. You just gotta
Yeah.
find something in there to
In the
work,
middle, yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah.
Adversity or whatever. So tell us
Yeah.
about real estate. How
Yeah.
you got started in real estate?
I got started in real estate when I was probably about 18, and it was when I found the industry. I probably didn't sell my first deal till I was almost 19, but I basically got into wholesaling actually first. So if anybody's familiar with wholesaling, it's essentially just the art of like finding a distressed property and then finding a buyer willing to buy locking the property up, getting it under contract as the buyer, and then selling your rights to that contract to the actual buyer before close of escrow, and then making a fee, whatever the difference is between those two numbers. So I got that's kind of where I got into real estate, right? I saw an ad, but a guru, right, that was teaching how to no money down real estate, right? Which is like, anybody that thinks of real estate, they think you got to have money to get into real estate. You got to have money of some sort, whether you're fix and flipping the property, holding it as a rental, doing a development, or just getting a real estate license. There is money involved there. Real estate license is obviously the cheapest form of anything, but anyway, so I got into wholesaling and I did that for probably about 8 or 9 months, and then I got my real estate license.
With My Home Group, was it your first brokerage?
First brokerage, yeah. I met Mark and Jeremy when there was probably 250 agents with My Home Group when I met Mark and Jeremy.
Wow.
Maybe 300.
And we're over 2,400 now.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So I met Mark and Jeremy. They were great,
Did you meet them at the school or something when you?
No, I had a buddy. I had a
those?
buddy that knew Jeremy,
Gotcha.
and when I went to go get my license, he was kind of like my mentor actually at the time, and he was the one kind of coaching me and teaching me how to like wholesale. And one day I was already wholesaling quite a bit of deals actually when I got my real estate license. I was probably doing 10 deals a month wholesaling. So
10 deals a month.
Yeah.
Okay. 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
Wholesaling 10 deals a month.
Yep.
So what? Big deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun though. It took me a while, right? I wasn't like this overnight thing. Obviously, I think you hear people that make it like it's obviously we're talking about the highlight reel right now, but it took me like 8 or 9 months to close my first deal.
Yeah.
Marketing, direct mail, no phone calls.
Yeah, we're not talking about the times you got your
Right.
ass
Yeah.
kicked.
I got my ass handed to me, 100 like unbelievable amounts of times. I started more companies now.
You get better.
Yeah. Like
if you don't learn from your mistakes,
Yeah,
then
absolutely.
stop learning.
Yeah. So I was doing a bunch of deals, and then I went to my mentor and I was like, hey, why can't I double in these deals? I was like, how do I do more? You know what I mean? He's like, well, have you ever thought about getting your real estate license? I had never thought about it, right? I was like, no, I haven't thought about it. He's like, well, go get your real estate license, and then he's like, you can represent me as the buyer, him, right, to wholesale properties. So now I was wholesaling my own deals, and on top of that, I would make offers on the MLS with him as the cash buyer, and then he would wholesale the deal. And so I was like, I really had no idea what he's talking about. He was like explaining it all to me. I'm like, what in the world, what's the MLS? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And so he's like, well, go get your license. And so probably about 13 days later, I was a licensed real estate agent. It just so happened that following
13 days. So you obviously did the 9-day crash.
9-day crash. Yeah. The next Monday, I met him at the DoubleTree Resort in North Scottsdale, and he was chilling by the pool. I came with like collared shirt. I was like, I think I had like a tie on. And I just wanted to be like him at the time. And he's like, look, get your license. And that was probably a Saturday or Sunday. And then that Monday, I called the Arizona School of Real Estate and Business, and they were like, yeah, we got a crash coming up on Monday. So it was like Monday through Friday and then Monday through Thursday. And then on that Friday, I took my test and failed. And then Saturday, they allowed me to take it again, and I took it and I passed. And
State test.
And the national, because I did them all the same. I did them like back to back. You know what I mean? I think it was a little different back then too than it is today. I don't know exactly, because they let me take my test like literally the next day.
Yeah.
And then all you gotta do is get.
And it was like fresh in my mind. Like I think that's why I was able to pass it so quick too, because I didn't wait like forever and ever. You know, it was all like really fresh. You know, and so yeah, I got my license. I called him back 2 weeks later. I said, "Hey, I'm licensed." You know, I'm like, "What now?" You know,
what now?
Yeah,
ready to go.
And he's like, "Well."
He's like, yeah, that figures.
Yeah.
That figures.
He's like, "Start making offers on the MLS," and I was like, "Okay, well, how do I do that?" And he's like, "Well, zip forms." And I was like, "What's zip forms?" You know, and he's like, "Well, you just got to go in there and make offers." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know how to fill out." I'm like, because I was wholesaling, but we were using an off-market contract that our attorneys had written up for us. So I'd never seen an armless contract. You know, this 9-page freaking thing. I had no idea what I was doing. You know, and he's like, "Just figure it out." He's like, "I don't have time."
Just figure it out.
So I'm like, "All right." I literally sent him like 100 offers before he would sign one. Because like I just, you know, I would put the inspection period wrong, or the earnest money would be wrong, or the math didn't add up, or the appraisal.
He wasn't telling you.
He wasn't telling me. He's like, "Nah, it's not." He's like, "Send it to me."
That's
again."
a mentor.
You know. And so I was like, "What do you mean?" So I'm like, "The appraisal cost, maybe that needs to be paid by the seller instead of the buyer." I'm like, "What? It's got to be something." You know what I mean? So I go like the additional terms. I'm starting to write out like terminology. I'm like, you know, buyer's agent to like, you know what I mean? I'm just thinking of like different things that I could do to this offer to make it, you know, an offer that he would be okay with. And then he finally started signing them, and then we started to close those deals too. And then he would actually start to refer me to the investors that were buying them, and I would list them on the back end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or if he was the investor, I would list them for him too.
So that's where you started.
Dip.
Yeah.
Dip.
Yeah, that's where I started.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talk about where you're at now. I mean, from that time frame till now.
Yeah. Well, I did really well for a couple of years. I probably did like 20 million worth of real estate or something, and then and like personal production just on the traditional side. I did way more on the off market side. Unfortunately, I wish that got counted sometimes in the MLS, because then it would look a lot better than it currently looks. But it doesn't look bad either.
20 million.
You know,
not bad.
It doesn't look bad. Yeah.
We normally don't let people at that such a low level in this show.
Yeah. Well, you know, but I'm looking at guys like Ryan Serhant, you know, Josh, Jason Mitchell. You know, I'm trying to. I'm like, I want to do $1 billion. You know what I mean? So, and I still do. But anyway, so I died. Like my problem was when I was probably like 22. I kind of got like shiny object syndrome. You know, I started dabbling in a bunch of different stuff. I started a golf cart limousine company. I started an exotic car rental company. I started a marketing agency. I started like doing like social media for myself. So I grew to like a couple 100,000 followers on Instagram. Started playing around with like YouTube, you know, and I was like simultaneously I was still wholesaling, you know, and it was just a lot that happened in the last 3 years. You know, I've really learned a lot. Like the last 3 years have felt like a decade. Like it's been pretty crazy. So, you know, I made a lot of failures. I had a couple of pretty big wins too. Like our marketing company did really well. We were doing like Instagram marketing for people all around the country, all around the world really. And at one point we had like 3,000 or 4,000 customers paying a couple $100 a month. You know, so that was pretty cool. And it just kind of been dabbling. I fix and flip some properties. You know, I started an ATM company. So I own an ATM company now, so we have like 100 ATMs throughout the valley that just do like passive residual income, you know. And started a real estate team, so got that now. And real estate team, I have like eight agents on my team right now, I think. And so we're doing that. We're re-ramping up the wholesaling thing in a big way right now. Actually, I think last month was our biggest month yet. Again, with a new infrastructure and new business partners, new office, new everything. So I think we're doing like. I think we did like 18 deals last month in the wholesaling side of things, and then ramping up traditional. Obviously, again, this whole virus kind of threw things off for a few months, but we're doing pretty good. I think I did like $4.5 million in like March still in production, it personally, and then whatever my team did. I have to look at the numbers, but nothing like, you know, we're not making leaderboards yet, but I think it's kind of hard to make leaderboards here. I actually texted somebody the other day. I'm like, what the heck? What kind of volume do I got to do to hit the frickin' top 10?
No, you got that.
You know,
it's up there.
Like,
I hit it in February, and that was my best month ever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it takes a bunch.
And you got to do it in like every calendar month. So it's like, you know, hitting it 1 month is like, you know.
So there's something I know about you that I don't, whether you care to share it or not is up to you. I'll say something.
Sure.
I know you to be a pretty religious guy and have a deep faith. Talk a little bit about that and your path and and being thankful for everything, because we've talked
Yeah,
before
yeah.
about it, and it's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my grandparents always, I feel like they were always like Christians, but they never really went to church. So I felt like if you would ask me when I was growing up, I'd have said, yeah, I'm Christian. Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? But I didn't know what that meant. I didn't understand that it was actually a little bit more involved, I guess. And so I ended up actually diving into it a little bit on my own, and I went to some different seminars and stuff, and went to just different churches, and I had some good people in my life at the time. We were traveling around the world. We went to Australia, so I got to go to Hillsong and stuff in Australia, and just got to experience different
and these were
things.
Religious trips, right?
Yeah. We would go to see Todd White, or I don't know if people are familiar with these kind of people, but Todd White's a pretty big preacher or whatever, and just different people, Joel Osteen, and so I just started looking into this whole thing, and then eventually I got baptized and went through that whole thing, and then and then I joined my local church now, which is the Impact Church, actually right here, and I went on a couple mission trips with them. Not I feel like that sometimes comes off wrong, but we just not with the church, but 20 members from the church. We all kind of took our own money and went to Nicaragua a couple times actually now, and built houses for.
So there's a reason I asked that.
Yeah.
So everybody watching this is wondering, when you take time off, when do you flip that switch on off? That's kind of your off time, isn't it?
Probably, yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
You don't have an off switch.
No, it's really tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough actually. I think it's more about work-life integration than it is work-life balance. I think a lot of people, they want work-life balance, and I don't know that exists if you're trying to truly become successful. I think you can make $100,000 a year with work-life balance, but I don't think you can make. I think you eventually cap yourself out. It's if you're trying to achieve this balance thing, you're not going to take a phone call at 7 p.m. then you're probably not going to ever make $1 million a year.
And a lot of people are talking about that with the whole quarantine thing. I own my own business not at your young age, but I was, fresh out of the service. I was in my 20s, started my own business, and I worked from home. I was at work all the time. I was single.
Yeah.
I was at work always. It was
For sure.
always. So, real quick.
Yeah, for sure. I know. I'm doing
Melissa.
I'm doing all the talking here.
It's just such
How do you follow that? I don't know.
They have you here for a reason, so you're going to be able to follow that without shutting it down.
And it's really not about that. It's the gist of this whole thing is we all have our own paths. Yours just started at 8 years old when I was playing Little League and picking my nose, and
It's interesting.
It's just different.
So listening to you talk, really, my story is sort of the inverse of yours, but a lot of the same lessons, right?
Yeah.
So I grew up, in Illinois. I moved to Arizona as a kid with my family. My parents are still married to this day for 37 or 38 years, and I had kind of an idyllic childhood, and it was great. And I got married young at 19, went to college, then got a master's degree, had 3 kids, did all the right things.
Master's in what?
Education. So I was a teacher I'll stay at home with my kids for
That's
about
important.
7 years, 10 years in education. I'm a reading specialist. And then, kind of got to a point, I had divorced, and we had owned and operated several businesses. We were a lot of agriculture, dairy, and then that's what kind of gave me. Was? I know, right? The smell of money.
Not you. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
What's the guy say when that smells like money?
Yeah.
That's what he says. But my ex-husband and his family actually are kind of what they introduced me into this idea of an entrepreneurial mindset, and how you can have one business and piggyback and grow multiple businesses that you can lower your overhead by building it sort of together but separately. Anyway, so I feel like after we divorced, I just wanted some stability, so I went back into education and got to a certain point where I realized, okay, is this it? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to work, and then I'm going to come home, I'm going to collect my $45,000 a year paycheck, and that's just it. And it wasn't enough for me. So that's why I went back went to get my real estate license. I had some friends and family who are in real estate. My sister and her husband do very well. They hold properties often for rentals. They flip them, and then she also is an agent. So they inspired me a little bit there too. But for me, it was just trying to find something that I could grow on my own, and that my effort was related to my paycheck. But similarly, just a ton of growth, right? It's like you have to go through all of these things. The most difficult periods in my life shaped me, and they are, the reason why. You keep talking about growth mindset, and it's so important to recognize those trials, those challenges as just the next thing. And even in a year and a half I've been in real estate, it's like I started out with this, that I was going to come in and learn absolutely everything there was to learn. I was going to find the best mentors, and it was just going to be easy, right? Like, that's just how it was going to be. And it was, what's interesting to me in this industry is how you just have to change all the time. And the pillars of my business in the beginning were so well thought out, and I meticulously planned things, and then things change, and the market changes, and you have to roll with it, and you have to keep learning. And
let's share. I've known a little bit about Melissa's story. Once she went through the UX training program too. So I'd like you to share how you began, because it is really inspiring. Because a lot of people, when they get their license, they start to think, well, I got to know everything there is to know about real estate before I even make my first move. So they spend a lot of time, and there's a little bit of nervousness, fear about taking those steps. And I know one of yours was really trying to reach out to people to really let them know that you're in real estate now. So if you could share that a little bit, and how you got started, and how it all came about.
So, like you said, I joined the UX program because I didn't know anything about anything, and I just wanted that structure. But I was resisting this idea of like just reaching out to your database, calling people, just getting in front of them. I was like, oh, come on, let's try this with strangers first. Like, that'd be more comfortable for me. Yeah, and I probably 3 or 4 weeks I resisted, and we'd have our weekly calls, and Michael would be like, okay, how did you contact your database? And I was like, well, I made a list. And like, I'm just doing open houses and this other stuff. And he was like, just call the list, just call the list. And I was like, all right, I'll call. We
got her to commit to, I think, 10 people. I think you said, I think I can make 10. I think we were like, I'm going to make 10 calls.
This is during UX training?
Yeah, during the UX training course. Yeah. Tell us what happened when you made those 10
I'm pretty
calls.
sure it was 5 calls.
Oh, it was 5 calls?
You wanted me to make 10, and I was like, I don't think I can handle 10 rejections in a row today. Like, it was per day, right? In my first 5 calls, I had my first buyer. So, and it was like, it was like this little switch where I was like, oh, I just do it. Like this.
5 calls and a buyer.
So I'm gonna jump in here. I'm gonna tell you something that I watched you do. And we talked one day. We were downstairs, and I'm not taking credit for this. You get all the credit for it. But I think I told you. I said, you want to learn around here? Go sit upstairs. Because all this senior row thing, I mean, with all us old guys up here that have been around forever and doing real estate and different businesses, I said, Melissa, I think you'll learn just if you go upstairs and remember you got 2 of these and just listen. And lo and behold, every day. She was here when I got here, she was here when I was leaving, and she had no problem walking in my office and saying, hey, I heard you talking to somebody about this. And I'd say, yeah, sit down and we'll talk about it. Which in part tells you the culture of my home group. We're here to help. We're always here to share and help, and you don't have to pay 30% for us to help. But you really adopted that more than anyone. And I've told a ton of people to do that.
Well, talk a little bit more, because from there, so, the UX is an 8-week program. So, if I'm not mistaken, by the time the 8 weeks was up, she was already working with 2 transactions. So, she was really starting to get on a roll there. So, maybe share about that.
Yeah. Well, and so UX met once a week, but I just set office hours for myself. I'm a single mom, I have 3 kids at home, so it was imperative.
And lives like 400 miles over on the west side. So
that's right.
And we're still here every day.
But you know why I came here is exactly what you just said. You guys inspired me, Jeremy and Mark. The doors are open. Neil would come by and be like, I heard you making phone calls, here's what you can tweak. Or, just encouragement. Good for you, like getting on the phone.
We were talking behind your back, just so you know.
I love it.
We were all listening to you going, okay, somebody needs to go tell her not to do that. Or somebody needs to go tell her, you could do better if you did this. And we did. We were just like, because you were there. I mean, I have very few people's business cards on my, realtors' business cards on my board. yours is one of them, because I was like, if she needs help, I'm there to help, she's working her ass off, so.
And you guys, I mean, I talk about to everybody, go sit up there. Just do your work, bring your stuff, and be inspired. And the amount of, you don't have to pay for growth, for learning, and especially not here. I've talked to umpteen million realtors and people in the industry, and what we have here, this culture of just support, open doors, no one else has it. And it's, ultimately, I did that for about a year, and then joined a team just right before Corona, actually. But then I'm learning so many new things with them about, we get a high volume of leads that, internet leads, that now that's a whole different ballgame of how to work those. And on the phone all the time, follow up, like I'm getting better at things that, automated systems and building what that looks like. But there's just something new to learn in every season, and I think that's the beauty of it. But finding the best people you possibly can, and surrounding yourself with them, and then listening to them and asking questions is the most valuable thing in any industry I've ever been involved in.
How true of a statement would you say this is, that the culture here just, it's like organic, that people just help. If you're hanging out here, I haven't seen a time that anybody said, yeah, no, I don't have time for you right now, or can somebody help this new agent out, or it's just not the thing.
It's so natural, right?
It's so organic. And this isn't a sales pitch for my home group. I'm telling you the truth of what this is. I've been in sales for almost 40 years. I mean,
it's 100% about showing up, surrounding yourself with good people and showing up.
You mean like you're 8 years old and you got a pool cleaning kit? Who would say no to some kid knocking, hey, can I clean your pool? How much?
People said no. People said no.
See, but that's the beauty.
Yeah,
You
for
probably
sure.
learned more.
But those were the best. Those were the best steps you got.
For sure.
No.
To this day, To this day. Yeah.
But you didn't give up.
No.
I think
that's key, right there.
Being able to take a blow and analyze it, learn from it, and keep walking after the blow.
For sure. That's
So let's talk a little bit about. I didn't mean to jump.
No, you're good.
Let's talk a little bit about now. And I don't want to get into politics and all that stuff. Let's talk about our real estate market, and where you guys see it going, how you think Corona has affected it, how you think this uptick right now that we're having may affect it, and anybody have anything, views on that? Go ahead.
I think we probably all have a lot to say about it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I go ahead.
We have seen. Everything was really slow for a couple months. 2 months probably, and then, like I said, we do at the Catering Group, we do a ton of internet leads, and all of a sudden it was like probably a month ago, it was gangbusters. All of our investors were in front of us. All of a sudden, everyone wanted to capitalize on what they perceived as a slight downturn in what has been a very strong seller's market, and it was like, hey, if we have some leverage in this market, we want to buy, like right now. And then, sellers, obviously, we actually sold a lot of investment properties. They were kind of clearing out their portfolios.
Because they're dangerous right now.
Right.
It's a little bit
now we're
of a
seeing,
scary hold right now.
I was sitting an open house yesterday, which was my first since Corona.
Which is what we talked about the first day.
A ton of them, And it was actually, that's another thing that's changed my business. Like, I did open houses every weekend. During the week, we'd start doing weekdays. And on your advice, the weekdays, you're like, just go sit them. Let's do it. And it's like, you might as well sit somewhere where a client might walk in and work. And so I would just schedule them a couple hours, Thursdays, Fridays. But
did it work?
And Michael taught me to keep track of the data of who came in when, so that I could dial in those time frames and not waste my time, essentially. Maximize the time I was there. But it does work. It does. And meeting people is one thing, because it's fun to get in front of people and talk. It's not always fun to follow up and to follow up and to follow up and to keep an eye out. Like, your brain is always on in real estate, watching for a deal for those clients, and that's been the biggest
You said a key thing though, is follow up, and that's true. It's not always fun to follow up, because it's always great to have the initial conversation with them and in the moment, but the follow-up is, that's where it happens, because, and a lot of agents don't do that, but the ones that do, that's where the wins come, right? Because you're tracking the data like we talked about, how many people come into an open house, how many people you talk to, how many people opted into your system, how many people respond to you, how many buyers you've room. So then, at the end of 3 months, 6 months, you can really see that, for every 50 people I talk to in an open house, I have an opportunity. And it's more motivating to have that information so that, I don't have a problem sitting 8 to 10 open houses, because when I talk to 50 people, I close a transaction.
And keeps you from being disappointed, right? With those, if 49 people say no, all right, because I know out of 50,
Next one's gonna,
I'll get a deal.
Yeah. Every no is closer to a yes. Right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't think you're an open house guy.
I did a lot of open houses.
You did?
Yeah.
To me, you would appear to me as more of a going for the big game instead of the small game. Would you say that's accurate, or?
I'm not too big for anything, so I'll definitely go for small stuff. I mean, look, I did a lot of open houses back in the day. I mean, I still do them every now and then. You know what I mean? I think they're great. They're amazing. For me, unfortunately, I'm in a place where I have to be very careful with my time. And if I'm not building the back end of things and the systems and processes that act the infrastructure essentially of the different things that I'm doing, then it can fall apart fairly quickly. We have a 4,500 square foot office. Got a bunch of people there. And so. There is a difference between when I'm in the office and when I'm not. So if I just go hold an open house every day right now, unfortunately, everybody in my office might not work the way that they should be working it right now. That's just the stage that I'm currently in, right? But I've probably sold at least $8 to $10 million of real estate from sitting open houses.
And your open houses are, would you say that's your best
My database
source?
is my best source.
Mm-hmm. But it's built from open houses, or?
And I'm still new, sort of a year and a half. The vast majority of my clients are people I know, acquaintances, friends, people I've worked with in the past, and then their referrals. And then more recently, I've been, working with leads they're internet leads.
Yeah. So you're saying open house isn't one of your premier?
Interestingly, it's not right now, and this is why I say I'm early, because I'm still working those leads. I wouldn't say that in the deals that I've closed in the past year and a half that they're the majority of them. No, but do I have strong leads? Am I still following up with that? What I actually like about it the most is that it really gives you insight on who's out looking, who's buying, and what their motivations are. And it just keeps you focused on that other side of the industry, the consumer part. And so I do think it works for leads. And in fact, it just depends on the open house. Even just yesterday, we're holding them this whole weekend. But it's crazy. There's not a second where we don't have someone in the house. And you're talking to other agents. You're getting other perspectives. I think it's vastly important in just a lot of ways, especially for new agents.
So in my marketing material, I have a page, and when people look at it, they get to this one page, and I said, that's the most important page in the book. And the thing is, the page says, what's the most important thing a realtor can do? And I say shoes. And I was like, put yourself in the other people's shoes. If you can continually put yourself in your buyer's shoes, your seller's shoes, people walking into your open house's shoes, your shoes, it's so important to take a look at the opposite of who you're talking to, and just try to relate to what they're doing. It sounds like you're kind of really figuring that out and making it work for you.
And the other thing I always do is
your shoes won't fit me.
Try. It might be kind of fun. I always door knock the neighborhoods, and you can pick up listings that way. Align yourself with some good contractors, because even outside of the real estate, it's like, how many people do I talk to in these neighborhoods? We're like, they'll always ask me, come in and have a look. What should I do here to get the best value? I want to be their realtor, so use my guy, do your reno, and when you're ready, call me.
Can I let you in a little secret? Ready for this? I don't do open houses to get buyers.
Yeah.
I do open houses to get listings.
Yeah.
The buyers are going to come. You're going to get 2 or 3 buyers. If you do open houses twice a week, you're gonna pick up 2 or 3 bucks.
And it's just your face in the neighborhood, right?
Yeah,
People start to
and
know
you,
you.
like you
Yeah.
said, you're doing the door knocking, which is, that's my favorite part, because I want to invite the neighborhood to come and check out the open house, because it's kind of like an audition, right? So when they come to see you at the open house, they see how you have things set up, they see how professional you are, they see how you really genuinely care. When they see that, they're like, wow, I want this.
And
this
that's
realtor to sell my
exactly
house.
why I do the opposite. So there's 2 ways to, I knock doors after my open house. And I'll go to the neighbors and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know I had an open house. We had 12 people through, and 6 of them loved this neighborhood, but that house wasn't the right one. If you have any interest in selling, I got 6 people that are looking to move in this neighborhood. So it's just real solid information. There's so many
Yeah.
So many different ways.
so many different ways to, I got mine. You got my open house sign-in sheet. You've seen
Yeah.
it. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it works. And
It
it just
works.
works for me. I'll
Yep.
show it to you.
Everyone,
Yeah,
has, everyone has a unique way of
Yeah.
doing open houses, but they are really, that's one of my favorite things to do, just maybe because I like to talk to people, but it's really good. I'd like you guys, I know we've got a few minutes here. Do we have any questions, John?
No questions.
Okay.
Except that Kim Hickey said that Melissa's a rock star.
I do love Kim McGee. Work with your title person.
Yeah, yeah.
Get all the addresses and phone numbers and emails for your
Yeah,
the area around your open house.
Let me add one thing to what you said about vendors and your partners. Every time we talk, I tell you that I have a team. I have lawyers, title, and Shelley at One Guard and Rich at Alliance. I mean, these are my partners, my lending partners. They're so important. They're so important to helping you get through your day.
I watch agents wasting money on stuff all the time that
Oh, yeah.
your partners will do for you. It's like, why are you spending money on that? Call title.
We have a whole class on
Go.
UX, right? So we
Yeah.
talk about the whole power partners, how important it is to build that out.
So let me close out our conversation about COVID just a little bit, and
Yeah,
so
sorry.
we can. It's my opinion that this too will pass. And when you get to be my age, you've seen the ups and downs, you've seen, all kinds of different stuff, and everything's cyclical. Everything goes and comes, and we'll get through this. I believe there's going to be significant change in the way business is done based on all the other stuff outside of COVID that's happening right now. I think our country's in a real kind of open your mind kind of change thing. I don't want to get into all that. But I think there's going to be new normals with the combination of what's going on with the movements and what's going on with COVID. It's almost like we're coming into a perfect storm, and there's no way that everything's going to be the same way it's done. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I do. I feel the same way. I mean, I don't. For me, I think it's all just about like I don't get involved. Like for me, I focus on my life, my future, my family, my team, my whatever, right? And I think that you can do one of 2 things. So you can look at the news, you can watch the news, you can watch everything going on in the world, and you can let that consume you, or you can focus on yourself and your future, and you can design your life. And you said everything's cyclical; it goes up and down. One way or another. In every market, there's always money to be made. People are going to buy, people are going to sell. If you want to relate it to real estate, it doesn't matter if it's an up market, a down market, if the market's left, right, or sideways. People are going to need to buy, they're going to need to sell, and you need to be there when they're ready to do so. And past that, I mean, it really doesn't matter. People get so caught up in this is happening, and that's happening, and the other thing's happening. It's like, well, cool, but that stuff like that's always been happening. I mean, now you got more media coverage and stuff, and like you said, without getting into it, but things have been happening for hundreds of years. You said it best, really, but it's just a matter of like focusing on what is your goal, and then what information are you consuming? I mean, I don't know. Like I try not to consume the news. It's like CNN.
It's almost a distraction, right?
Yeah, like,
I do it minimally.
Yeah, it's like I don't.
You have to protect yourself.
Yeah, your mind is the most powerful thing. Like my mentor always told me the most expensive real estate that I'd ever owned in my life is 6 inches between my ears. And and he said, look, you could be publicly humiliated, you could be stripped of your money, you could be thrown in jail, you could be anything. You can go bankrupt and lose everything, but nobody can ever take away the wisdom, the knowledge, and the information that you have gathered over the course of your life. And with that wisdom, knowledge, and information, you can always just go make it all right back.
Yeah. I like what you said about you really got to keep moving forward, and even with COVID and everything that's going on, is you just have to adapt. You talked about this before. Adapt, change, adjust, do what you have to, do what you have to do. But we're learning new ways to do business now too. So just don't give up. Right. Just keep going and figure out how you can work best in this market right now. And it's just not stopping. It's just keep it going forward.
If anything, I think that there'll be more opportunity. I mean, in the real estate industry particularly, I think a lot of the people that don't have what it takes, they're going to get out of the industry. They typically do. When things are easy, everybody gets into the industry. When things are hard, everybody gets out. And whether that be
about that before, yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, and whether that be
This is the climate.
yeah, on the investment side, anything, you look at that, you just look at that in a nutshell. And I think that the people that have what it takes, they're going to make a lot of money. And the people that don't have what it takes, they're going to get out of the industry. And you're not going to be somewhere in the middle, I don't think. I think it's just going to be one or the other.
I would tell you this, that I have no doubt in my mind that COVID is definitely going to limit the amount of 8-year-olds starting businesses.
For sure. Yeah, it took me a minute. No,
I think there'll be way less 8-year-olds starting
I'm super
businesses.
interested in like hearing you talk about
Yeah.
the trend. Where do you think it's going to go?
Mhm.
Like you're talking about doing a lot more wholesaling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, just briefly, I mean, we have mortgage forbearance and stuff like that, and people aren't paying their mortgages and things, and 20 million people are unemployed. I mean, sure, it got a little bit better in May, but I mean, it's, I mean, at some point, I think you almost have to see foreclosures spike, and people actually, the banks aren't going to bail out the people. The banks typically get bailed out, but they don't bail out the people, in my opinion, right? In my opinion.
Well, historically, that's what happens.
Yeah, so I think at some point you're going to see that, and again, it's just facts. Like it's not good or bad. It's just more neutral, than anything. I think it's kind of the cycle of life, and that's kind of what you were talking about. But with that, investors end up making a decent amount of money because there's more deals, right? So it's just like, in order for somebody to win, somebody has to lose, and in order for somebody to lose, somebody has to win. It's always been that way, and it always will be that way. And it's just, I think, just understanding that. It's not like taking advantage of anybody or anything like that, but it is the cycle of life. It is the cycle of business, and it just is what it is. And so I think you just have to figure out what side of the coin you're going to be on.
I think you hit something right on the head, and that's discussing facts.
Yeah.
With your buyers, sellers, whatever your client, be factual. Don't be around the bush. This is what's going on. I'll give you a perfect example. Interest rates right now are record low, and that's horrible for our country. It's bad. Banks aren't making any money at 2.5% and 3% interest. It needs to be at 6%, and then it's good for everybody because then the economy's getting more money.
Yeah.
People need to understand, not just let's do it. Yeah, of course, people are taking advantage of it, but ultimately 6% is where we really need to be.
We got
have those
just a couple minutes here, so I was wondering if each of you could just, for the newer agents and other agents, what could you leave them with something motivating, inspiring? Just leave them with some kind of nugget of keep going kind of thing, like we were talking about, keep moving forward.
Be Newt Rockney.
Yeah.
What would you leave them with right now today? What would you say?
I mean, I would just say that no matter what you're trying to do in life, it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of hard work, a lot of failures. You're going to fail a lot of times, but you just got to do it. How you do anything is how you do everything, right? So if you wake up in the morning, you don't make your bed, you don't brush your teeth, and you walk out of the door looking like a Jokomo, your business is going to look like that same exact thing. You need to realize that with success leaves clues, right? So you just have to take somebody that you want to be like, and you just got to study them, and you have to mirror exactly what they've done, and you get exactly what they have. People talk about the law of attraction and all these different things. It's like the law of gravity. If you throw something up, what is it going to do? It's going to come down, right? When's the last time you threw something up and it stayed up? The law of gravity says what goes up must come down. So the law of attraction is if your mind is right and you're doing what you have to do every single day and you believe in yourself that you can pull that off, then you can do anything you set your mind to. And I don't care what that is.
Melissa?
I feel like I would just say the same thing, but I think probably the most important thing is surrounding yourself with good people, and holding yourself accountable. Like I said, get up in the morning, exercise, do what you need to do, get your day started, plan your time in the office or whatever you're going to do. I always plan out my weeks on Sunday nights and put it in front of me so that I know what's happening and I just have to enact it versus kind of being in that place. So, just taking that next step and always keep taking that next step.
Consistency.
For me, I know you pointed at me, I would say it's taking this with this and putting it together. So it's that true commitment. So like you were just talking about believing, you really got to believe it's going to happen, and you just got to take those steps forward. So, and when you truly commit with the heart, it changes the game, because we do that up here a lot, but we really need to take the heart and the mind and put it together and make that true commitment.
I can do mine really quickly. I think I sum up what everybody's talked about today, especially our two guests. Adversity, see ya.
Yeah.
I like
Bring it
that.
on.
Yep.
You know, it's like, yeah, you go ahead, knock me down, because I'm getting back up and I'm coming back at you. Don't let anybody that knows my story over the past year, you know, dude, I couldn't have had anything worse. And it's just like, nah, we ain't stopping. Let's go. Just keep plugging through. All right,
Love
so
it.
today's question, if you want the swag, Shelly Carr has donated lunch for 4. You are not required to take Mike and I, but it is highly suggested. At your choice, is what? How old was Austin when he started his first business? So go ahead and type that into the comments, and Kelly will get back to you and let you know who the winner is. And I want to thank you guys so much for coming in.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of both of you, because I was here when both of you guys came in. I feel like maybe I helped you out a little bit. Dude, you were beyond my help. You were so far ahead of me when you started, it was ridiculous. I'm so proud of you
They're
guys.
incredible. So we appreciate.
I'm so proud of you guys.
Everything,
It's
Oh,
really
it's awesome
awesome.
to watch you guys grow and how much you guys are doing and your successes and all that stuff. So
If anybody doesn't take you guys' stories and say, God dang, let's go.
Anybody can do it.
Get off the bench and get in the game. So that's it for this
That's
week.
it for us.
Thanks everybody for watching.
See you next
We'll
week.
see you next week when Brad Pitt will be our guest, and George Clooney, and Meg Ryan, and Julie Roberts is coming in too.
That's funny.
Jesus.
all right, awesome. Thanks.
All right.
Nobody knows who Meg is.
Meg